Here to unlock the mystery of the fishtail for us, let's hear it for Grandmaster Ong.
Sweet. I have everybody can hear me. I have two cameras on, and I figured out the phone one is actually better. So if you like focus on the phone one, you can actually see the stuff better.
We can hear you.
Yep. And this is my, I guess, first time doing like an online workshop. I did a Seb's Mess yesterday, and I was thinking like a more compressed, like a 30-minute window instead of a full workshop, and more like a demo, and talk about more like the theory of the topic instead of like a full workshop. And so Fishtails, my if those who don't know me, my name's Marvin. You can follow me on Grandmaster Ong on Instagram. And Fishtails, I feel like Club Fishtails. Last night I was watching Kevin and the Trick Jam, and then they were talking about what is your best trick, what is your favorite trick, or what is the one trick that ruled them all. For me, over a decade of prop manipulation, it will come down to the Club Fishtail. The Club Fishtail for me is the ultimate. And also, it's pretty interesting when I think about it, because when I went to my first fire drums, I saw Valerie from France do Club Fishtail. I remember that moment like really vividly. I walked up and he had like black dreads, and he was just doing just like two Club Fishtails with white clubs. And I was like so fascinated by the movement and the fluidity of the clubs and the visual. Like you can do fishtails with koi, with staffs, all different ways, but the way the club looks, they really do look like some sort of like a fish per se. And so I've been like chasing the fishtail like ever since then, and it's like over a while now. And for those who were tuning in this morning at 9 o'clock, I actually I screen share two routines that is like a kind of like a secret video that is not obtainable online. And one of them was from Mikel Ayala in 2008. And from my research and my journey, I found that he is the master of the Club Fishtail. And to begin, let's talk about the club. Like the one thing to know about the Club Fishtail is when I first learned it, like nobody really taught me how to do it. I didn't know how to do a regular fishtail with staffs, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to do it. It took me almost like a year, like almost close, I remember. And I was doing it on the wrist, like a club, like a staff fishtail. I practiced it on the wrist, like this, and it took me like forever, right? And then and I finally got it in like 2011, was that 2010, 2011. And then I realized a lot of the French people that were doing the club fishtails, they were doing it on the fingers. So instead of like on the wrist, it's on the fingers, right? It's like you're literally balancing the club on the fingers. So like when the fishtail like kind of like move, it's like more on the finger, up in the fingertip, instead of like on the wrist. And so there's the different technique between wrist and finger. So almost all staff fishtails are done on the wrist. Sometimes the staff is a little bit lighter, people do it on the fingers. And fingers are actually easier than the wrist fishtail. And talking about that funny thing, it's actually tip tails. I think it's easiest of them all actually, compared to, and it goes down. It's like you think fishtail is like the most basic, but fishtail is actually the hardest on the wrist. And you move on to the fingers, and then you have like the tip tail, the fingertip like fishtail. And one thing about the club that is important to know, that if you're practicing fishtails, is that the club needs to be a little bit beat up. If you look at my club, it has some sort of like a texture. And the funny thing is, like I've been practicing fishtails for so many years, almost 7 years, and I'm at an EJC in Lublin, and I was teaching a fishtail workshop. There were like maybe like 150 people. So it was crazy. There were like so many people taking like this fishtail workshop. And I was teaching this workshop, and then a bunch of people like walked up to me. They tried my clubs, and then they were trying to fish out. And then after the workshop, they were like, is your club like specifically weighted in a way where it's easier to do fishtails? And I was like, no, they're just like your clubs, like regular clubs. And then Sean, the maker of Flow Toys, was there in Lublin at EJC. And it was nighttime, and then I saw him, and I was like, hey, Sean, you know something funny? All these people said like my club somehow feels like they're specifically weighted and it's easier to do fishtails. And he was like, of course, because over the years, you've used your club in such a way, there's like monkey grease on the club that creates like a texture, like a seasoned in like club. If you're like a toss juggler, if you're like a traditional juggler, the chances of you using this area is almost none. Like maybe here, but definitely not in this particular area. So why I bring that up is that if your club is brand new, it is, I don't want to say impossible, almost impossible. It's very, very, very difficult to practice fishtail. The club needs to be like worn in a little bit. But here comes the thing too. If you have like too much of a grip, like for example, the Play D club, it kind of almost like, it doesn't feel the same. It's weird. It's like you need it to have like a decent texture. So all my clubs, like when they break, I save the body. It's the same technique as Mikel. So he would save the body and he would change the dowel and handle, but the body will be the same. So that if you work on fish shells, it is like seasoned and ready to go. Anybody has any questions like so far? Oh, 7280. Everybody good? No questions? Sandpaper, yes. Sandpaper, yes, I definitely agree. Like use a little bit of sandpaper to kind of like start. So just a regular fish shell on the fingers looks like this. And what is it actually doing? It's all it is. If you hold the club like a pencil, like let's say if you're like, this is the pencil that you're kind of like drawing, like you're drawing on the paper. If you hold the club on your right hand like a pencil, and then there's a wall on your left, there's the paper or whatever, and you're drawing the circle. If you're looking at the circle, it's counterclockwise. So it's coming towards you, not like kind of like forward, but it's kind of like, you know, in a car, the wheel is kind of coming towards you. And this circular circle is what it is doing. It's doing a one beat circle. It's just doing one circle. There's no changing side of any sort. The knob is moving in a counterclockwise circle, like in reverse. So that is like not away, but let's say if I'm like facing the camera, the knob is facing to the left. It's like here, not here, but here. So you're drawing a circle on the side of your face here, like this plane, wheel plane, coming towards you. So that's like the regular fishtail going in reverse. And if you're not I guess flow artist or if you're like more like a traditional juggler, like and timing and direction is kind of like foreign to you, most people would do it in forward because forward direction feels more natural. But if you come from like a flow arts kind of like community, you learn reverse is somehow easier because staff reverse is easier than forward. But that's just kind of like preference how you start. So I'll go with like some practices to like even to begin to crack the fish shell. So first of all, you have your fingers like a rock and roll, like a rock and roll, like kind of like sign, like, and depending on your club too. If you're using Henry pirouettes, then you're kind of like on point with the balance point. If you're using PX3, you need to move it up to the top a little bit because it's slightly top heavy for PX3 compared to like Henry pirouette. So for Henry pirouette, if you look closely at my index finger, my right hand index finger, it's barely touching the line on top of this tape. So there's the tape, right? Like the bottom part, and then you have the top part. This right index is barely touching the top of the line. It's not on the tape, it's past the line. And then this finger comes up, and this is actually the exact balance for all Henry pirouettes. I think the Vision Clubs the Vision Clubs are pretty on point. The Vision Clubs are like, because they're basically Henry bodies, so they're kind of the same. It's like past the tape with the rock and roll like a finger. Usually with the, you can practice with the head on the pinky. So that would be kind of like the first kind of like start to like just to even know where to put the club. And then the second part is to once you have the club kind of like on your fingers, you're kind of like, okay, I'm good. Then you can kind of start relaxing all the fingers, like 5 of them. Like typically I would suggest do not use the thumb, but we will kind of like go in depth in like in positions where you're going to use the thumb. But for now, just like kind of like the 4 fingers. And you're kind of like just balancing the club. Can you guys hear me still? Thumbs up if you hear me, because I don't have a mic. Okay, cool. So like you balance the club. This would be the first number 1 practice. This is balancing the club. And then if you're comfortable with the club, maybe move around in a circle, like kind of like try to like feel the club. I'm talking about like feel the club on your fingers. Like, you know, like if you can, then once you get comfortable, close your eyes even. Close your eyes and like walk around in a circle. Kind of like, because it's all about sensation. It's all about feeling where exactly that club is, because it is a moving balance. So you want to like feel the club pretty much. So that would be kind of like the first step. You can move around in a circle, like you can like spin, like if you want, like, and then like this would be the first start. And then the second start is that once you're here, you would hold the club, just like grip it, just like a regular grip. So here my grip is like the index is kind of like almost in the middle of the tape, like not below, but kind of like almost middle, maybe a little bit shy, a little bit like on the lower part instead of above. Definitely not like that, but definitely here, kind of like here. So I can have you guys all try it, like if you're here. So you're gonna face the club to the left, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna flip it to the right, but you're gonna release really softly and then land the club like a stall. And if this was like a during a live workshop, this is my favorite part because everybody clubs drops, boom, 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 in the gym. Yeah, so you will land the club, and that will be the initial practice, and then be able to like land it every time. So if you're having issue like landing it, so here's a few tips. One, with juggling, especially with contact, in juggling too, but general, if the object is moving upwards, like it is like moving against or with gravity, but either way. So if it's moving upwards, there's a lightness to the object because it's like the momentum is going upwards. Also, when it's going upwards, you can actually move around the object because it's losing its weight. So like when it's elevated, like elevated, it's like you can kind of like move around the object because it loses its weight. When it's coming down, it's harder because it's coming at you. So it's kind of like pushing against you. So you like it's tough to like move around the object. Why I bring that up is because like from here, you can move the club upwards, and then to release it to like a slop, kind of like a soft, kind of like soft drop. And then when you like catch it, you want to go down with it so that it like reduces the impact as much as possible. Any questions so far? Let me grab a drink. Mate, the juggle juice. Yeah, it's called a cradle in poi, I think, because contact poi, you do that cradle thing. In I guess contact juggling too, I think. But in club fishtails, nobody really like talk about it as a cradle because it's already in a fish position, so they'll say it as a fish tail. The other thing about the fish tail that I find fascinating is I feel like fish tails are kind of like it's almost like ball on the head. It's like a niche of a niche in juggling, and it's kind of hard to kind of like half-ass it. Like you can, for example, what I mean half-ass is like you practice just to like practice the stall, but you never really like practice the fishtail. So like if the fishtail is not moving, you're basically gonna just doing this thing, which is kind of like fine, which is kind of like almost like a 2D fish. Like there's this juggler Tassio from Brazil. He does a lot of this cool like with the foot and stuff, like super cool, but it's all 2D. It's like not like a 3-dimensional like fishtail. Try and go slower. Which part? I just realized 30 minutes is grand. For the spin. Which spin? Just the movement of the fishtail? Horizontal spin. Like you mean like the one that like flips over like this? Is that the one? Like no, look
No,
at
the other way, across the hand horizontally.
across the hand horizontally. Can you do a video real quick and like I'm not really sure which one you're talking about. Uh-huh. Oh, we haven't got there yet. We haven't even got there. We just got like the flip part. Like you just like literally hop it and then like switch sides. We haven't got to like the horizontal part. It's just like very basic, like back and forth. So like once you're here, you can also practice using the left hand pointing down with the thumbs and then placing the club like this, like so they're like kind of like touching each other. And then you release and you're kind of like passing the club like back and forth. Like and then so like once you kind of like, okay, I got this, and then you go, okay, if you got this, you can start like launching it, like catching it like on the launch. Like. So let's go to the part of the fishtail too. Like so, once we practice this one and practice this one, the next part, there's kind of two approaches to it. The first one is, I wonder what's the best way to kind of like angle this. It'd be easier if I hold it maybe. Okay. So like you're looking downwards, right? So I want to have my knob point to the front, like as far as possible. I turn my wrist. My wrist is the one turning, and my knob is pointing away from me as far as I can. Like it's like pointing towards the front, and I'm gonna move it to the left side of the body until I can no longer move like the club on the left side body, and then I'm gonna have the knob point backwards behind me towards my back left side of my hip, my like left hip, and then I'm gonna move it back to the right side, and I'm gonna point forward, and then I'm gonna move it to the left, point to the hip, back, forward, side, back, side, forward, side, back, side, forward. So it's forward, side, back, side, forward. So it's almost like wax on, wax off. You're kind of like, if you just think about my hand, it's moving in a counterclockwise circle, kind of like wiping the table. So, but then there's a movement of the knob. So if you look at my knob alone, the knob is drawing a circle, like in a flat kind of manner. There's no fishtail, like no 3D fishtail happening yet. It's just like a flat kind of like circle, trying to create that like a circular pathway to the knob. So it'd be like a circular pathway to the knob. And then the next part here, like, is that when it goes to the front of the space, if it goes to the front, when you go back, I'm gonna do a hop. Like I'm gonna turn the wrist, the knob is gonna go up and then back. It's like a kind of like a half circle, like up, back. And then once it's here, the top will go do the half circle on the top. Half back, half back, half back, half back, half back. And then there you go. You got the reverse fishtail with the a half circle. So that's kind of like one approach to do it. Second approach, you can think about it as like it is in the front, just like a stationary front. And you think about it like a boat. It rocks up and down like a boat, and it goes to the left. And like when it rocks up, it doesn't have to go too high, just like an inch or so. When it goes up, you point the knob towards your hip, rock up, point, rock up, point, rock up, point, rock up. And then here comes the fishtail. So that is a kind of like just a basic like kind of like entryway to kind of like, those are like the pieces to kind of like practice just like the reverse fishtail. And then there's like a whole different subset to practice it in forward. If you already got the reverse fishtail, the best and the easiest way to, it is an infinity sign. The easiest way to practice a forward fishtail, it seems like, is to have the top facing to you on the pinky on the tape, like past on the body, past the tape, like instead of going this way, just like pointing towards you. And then so when you lift up, it like falls off. So there's a moment where like right before it falls off. So right before it falls off, you cut over. You like cut the fish. So it's like up, cut. And then from here you come in, up, cut, come in, up, cut, come in, cut. And then you have like a forward fish. Any questions? All right.
Hey Marvin, before we finish, can you give us just some inspiration for ways to do fishtails well?
Yes. Cool. That's definitely, I was about to go there too. So one of the really beautiful ones I feel like I took from Mikkel and his juggling is if you minimize your throw, but then you're still doing swings, anti-spin, and contact, it could be stuff like, for example, watch this. So you get like a flip, right? You got some air time, like you jump up and then you like catch it. But you literally, just like a contact point fishtail, you can maintain in contact in the wall plane kind of thing. So when you like hop it, it goes up, but your hand is still on the club as it like switches side. So you can kind of like do this thing constantly with the clubs. So like, for example, that's kind of like just one of the concepts where you're like in hop, but then you're still maintaining the contact. And therefore, whoever was in the panel, like on Saturday morning, when he said what was like his biggest thing that he learned recently, which was many years ago, I think, is when he hopped that plane, he was able to break planes and no longer fall in just one of the fishtail. For example, you can like flip it, just like that flip, right? But now I'll flip it diagonally. Like, and not only can you flip it like diagonally, but you can also flip it in different places. For example, this one up high, like this one. Show it again.
Excellent is the internet is down there.
So there's like, the flips can happen like in so many places, which is like so fluid and so alive. Just like, yeah, just like a contact juggling butterfly. It's literally a contact juggling butterfly. And one of his kind of like inspiration that I got from his combo is that you can, with the combination of swings and anti-spins, you can use that to utilize to go in and out of the fish. For example, if you do like an anti-spin throw, this is like a kind of like a very French like anti-spin throw. So you can do the anti-spin into the fish, like anti-spin and fish. And then, for example, you can do a forward anti-spin, fish. And then you can do forward anti-spin, turn, like forward anti-spin. You can do like forward anti-spin, turn. And then the body positioning too. The body positioning, depending on forward or back. There's this one that I've been working on for like quite a while now. Like going forward on the side, on the front. Then once it hits the back part, it like does a flip. Like it's like there. Like, and just because the body position changes where you do the flip, it like there's so many combinations. It's crazy. If anybody like
He's only got 30 minutes.
The chances are super low, but if anybody gets to watch him one day or maybe in this lifetime, the combination of the flips where it happens is insane. The sequence of the line is so free fall that it literally looks like the clubs are alive swimming by itself with 2 or 3 clubs. Like it's insane. Like, and you can do like both of them flipping too. Like, so you can have 2, and you can have like same time, and you can have like flip, flip, flip. You know, and then from here you can also like jump and then fish from here. There's many entrances into the fishtail. There's also from regular, if you do like a thumb spin, like just a regular thumb spin. But then instead of a full thumb spin, you can go into like a fish. So like thumb spin and then thumb spin, fish, right? And then so if you have 2 clubs, you can do like a spin and then fish. Spin, fish. You can also do like trap fish. You can also do multiplex fish. So many places. I mean, like literally how you can catch the club, you can literally catch it behind your hands and then basically can flip it in so many directions, in so many ways. And it's been a thing that I've kind of like been really passionate about and haven't spent, I feel like I spent enough time, but still not enough. If anybody was there this morning as well, when they watched the Mikkel clip, you couldn't even tell if he was right-handed or left-handed. It was insane. Like this level of manipulation of the right and left hand is so high. You couldn't even tell if it's like which hand is which. And but yeah, and if anybody is interested in Fishtails, I mean, you can message me offline on my Insta anytime. We'll talk about the Fishtail. And any more questions? We got 3 minutes left. And I know it's pretty cramped. Like I guess I can realize I can talk about Fishtails for hours, but yeah. Any questions?
Marvin, do you have any examples of fishtails being used during toss juggling?
Yeah, there's one like, there's a few, I think. There's one.
2 minutes, Marvin.
There's one Devin showed me a 4-2-3, like do like a fishtail and then you just throw. You just do like one throw and then you can do like boom, boom, boom. Fishtail, throw, throw, fishtail, throw, throw, fishtail, throw. You can also do a Mikkel one where like you're going forward. You can do like outside, inside, outside switch. Like outside, inside switch. Ooh, we need some work there. Or you can do like all like 3 of them like fish. You know, like switch over to like fish. But yeah, there's like a few, like 3 clubs. But once you add 3 clubs, it's definitely like more limited. Like, but then if you go back to your 2 and 1, once you have like a very high level of 1 and 2, then the 3 comes easier. And that's what you see with a lot of club manipulators. Bruno, Mikkel, I'm sure Bash has like super down with the 1 club. And being able to train the 1 club and 2 club at a high level and then add the 3, then one thing is happening. You can do like fishtail on this side, but then something else is happening on this side.
Thanks.
All right, final statements, Marvin, and any links or tip jar you have that you would like to share with
There
us.
are any tip jars. I mean, you guys can follow me on my Insta or like message me there. Maybe we'll do like another move soon or something. But yeah, I've been enjoying my the back seat here. Thanks to Kevin and everybody. And then you always make reverse fish with club, reverse club. Don't really understand that question, but you
Take it in a side chat, guys. I'm gonna wrap this up and move us on to the next class.
Reverse forward.
Nice.
Cool.
Let's hear it for the Grandmaster Ong. Hands in the chat or type up in the chat. Appreciation, move some hands, show some love. That was, I believe, the most succinct fishtail explanation I've ever seen. Nice 30 minutes tight.